All right, good afternoon, Ghana. My name is Aldo Moro. This afternoon, good afternoon, Ghana, is looking at what appears to be a massive pushback by the generality of Ghanaians about government's intention to implement the emissions tax or to introduce and implement emissions tax. Now, the new group that has come on board to fight this tooth and nail are the Garages Association of Ghana. We also have the Consumer Protection Agency. We also even have Okada Riders Association. Now, all these groups are vehemently and seriously and massively pushing against, or actually kicking against, this emissions tax. Last week, Friday, I had another group in the studio led by Hamza Suhini, who gave us all the reasons why the emissions tax was such a bad idea and why government must reverse it. And so we'll see how it goes. I'll be speaking to these new groups that have emerged, emerged relative to their positions on this matter. And they'll tell us why they think that this is such a bad idea. And if government goes ahead to implement it, what implications it would have on their business. This is Good Afternoon, Ghana. My name is Aldo Moro. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is Good Afternoon, Ghana. As I did indicate earlier, we're talking emissions levy. Big, massive controversial issue which has come up in the course of the week. In fact, last 2 weeks or so, where the government hinted that it intends to charge all of us what it calls the emissions levy. But ever since the government made that announcement, it's been met with some stiff resistance from especially a section of Ghanaians who are saying that they're tired of paying taxes. Okay, because already we're reeling under very difficult economic circumstances. The government has yet to really come out to tell us whether indeed it will reverse this decision or not. It's been a bit cagey in terms of its position on the matter. What we do know is that the other controversial tax, which is the tax or the VAT on electricity, that has been shelved. The government is shelving it. And so government has actually had to go back to the IMF to say, well, IMF, they people say they won't pay, so what do we do? You know, because we've got to find a way to plug the loopholes. We've got to find a way to make up for the revenue shortfall. Okay, so if the VAT on electricity is not going to work, what will work? So that engagement government said is going to have. And if government, again, discards or decides to reverse the decision on emission tax, a similar conversation has to happen. Because remember that bottom line, folks, is that government needs money. It's as simple as that. Government needs money. Government is desperately looking for money. And so if we are not going to allow them to tax us emissions, then what else are they supposed to do? So that's where we are now. Now, as I did indicate when I was introducing the show, there have been several organizations, what do you call them, pressure groups that have come out to say, we're not going to allow this to happen. We've heard the likes of the Okada Riders Association, Garage Owners Association, the Consumer Protection Agency, whose boss is here, Mr. Kofi Kapito. Oh, this man is very passionate about God. I've never met someone like him before. But anyway, so we'll have quite a number of them who's joining us in the studio this afternoon to have this conversation. We'll also have the GPRTU. Come on, I nearly forgot about them. They are also saying that if government goes ahead, they will fight it back. Yeah, so that's where we are now. So let me just quickly introduce the man who's actually joined us in the studio. I want to make sure that I get the name correctly. So we have Mr. Kofi Kapito is here. As I mentioned, he's the Chief Executive Officer of the Consumer Protection Agency. Mr. Hamza Suhini is the Executive Director of iSiege. And Mr. Numo Tete. Yes, Numo Tete. He is the Garage Owners Association, and he is actually joined me in the studio. So, Francis, I'm gonna come to you shortly, but let me quickly do this because I need to also tell our listeners what the WhatsApp line is, so that if you have any opinions that they intend to express, they can do that. So, Francis Numo Tete is the Director of Communications, Ghana National Association of Garages. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me first of all greet you. I hope you're doing well, sir.
I'm doing very well,
yeah,
sir.
But you have to tell us how this policy affects you. I'll come to you, right? But I'm saying you're here to tell us how this policy affects you. And then Hamza Suhini is joined us via Zoom. Hamza, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, my brother. And of course, good afternoon to you and our cherished viewers out there. And of course, to my senior colleague, Mr. Kofi Kapito, and that of my brother in the studio as well, representing the GPRTU.
Wonderful. So Hamza Suhini actually runs an organization, and first of all, Hamza, I think that I'd want you to do I don't want to do a rendition, so why don't you just introduce yourself so that we can go ahead?
Also, basically, I'm the Executive Secretary of the Institute of Climate and Environmental Governance.
Yeah.
It is ISEC for short, and I think that we have had a number of discussions already regarding this emissions tax. And so basically that is about it. We are into issues of climate change. We're into environmental protection. We are into policies, advocating for policies that at the end of the day we believe would be impactful when it comes to the global fight against climate change and environmental degradation. And of course, we are also into issues of the energy transition agenda. And we are pushing that quite strongly from where I sit as well. And so clearly, anything that has to do with environmental protection, issues of pollution, issues of environmental degradation, we believe that it has a connection to the economy. It has a connection to that of our health systems in the country. And that is where you would find us interested in some of these issues.
Wonderful, wonderful. And thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I can tell that this is an issue that you're extremely passionate about. And you've been on this crusade the whole of last week. I hosted you on Friday on News Night, and we excited we couldn't exhaust the issue, and that's why we brought you back. Now, and also let me say that I've got Mr. Kofi Kapito here. Mr. Kofi Kapito, good afternoon. It's good to have you join us this afternoon. Thank you so very much for taking time off your very, very busy schedule. Your microphone was actually off. Taking time off your very busy schedule to join us this afternoon. We're grateful that you've been able to make time. So I'll start with. Let me start with the Garage Association. They've not been that vocal up until I think yesterday or so, and today. I'll find out from them how this policy affects them. So, Francis, tell me, why has your association decided to join the crusade? How does this emission tax affect you?
Yeah.
Tell us.
Once again, let me say good afternoon to yourself, and then our cherished viewers. Also to my boss, His Excellency Nana Odino Opon-Berima.
Okay.
In fact, one will ask, automobile industry players, what does this have to do with us? But my brother, we work on vehicles.
Okay.
So when vehicle owners and drivers are being affected,
Yes.
indirectly we are also being affected.
Right.
As we speak today, I can tell you, when you come to our various workshops, there are so many cars that are parked, and you ask why. So if you enter into my shop, all that you say, this guy has money, simply because you see numerous vehicles being parked there. But the fact of the matter is, owners are unable to buy spare parts for us to fix their vehicles for them.
Wow.
And for that reason, the man or the woman will just come and park the car over there. After giving him the estimate, he tells you, my brother, I will call you. And call is not coming. So our even shops are being overcrowded with spoiled vehicles. Now that government is imposing this emission tax on them again, Master, even when the tax wasn't there, look at the situation we find ourselves. So indirectly, we are going out of business.
Right.
And you can see the cost on we in that industry.
Okay.
So what we are saying is, we are pleading with government. This emission tax is not going to help. My brother, even the question we are asking is it a matter of endorsing the pollution that is going on or what?
Yeah.
If cars are giving pollution, so emission, we want to avoid it. Is it not looking at a remedy to that? If you take mail levy on it, and the car continue to use the route, and the smoke, the car is still smoking, did you solve the problem? No. So we think the best way to go, if government want to stop this, is to look at solutions to the problem and not coming to overburden the Ghanaian, every Ghanaian with another tax component again. We are there to repair or maintain these vehicles. If government think we should stop vehicles that are that smokes on our road, one, it could be changing your engine, buying a new one or a home use one, or doing overhauling, repairing it.
Okay.
And you solve the problem. So why then going to tax somebody, allow him to continue polluting the air, and we say that is the solution? So in fact, to us, we can say that this very tax is not going to help in any way,
Right.
and it is rather taking us out of business. And car owners are complaining. Everybody, drivers are complaining. We are also complaining. Today, that is the reason why, for the first time, you can see us joining hands with our brothers and sisters and GPLTU, the other trade associations, to make sure that we mount the pressure on government to at least withdraw this very tax, which is going to be a killer tax on us.
I see. Hamza, when I spoke to you on Friday, your organization had already started speaking to this matter. At the time, the Garage Association hadn't joined. Mr. Kofi Capital had serious reservations about it, but then, him and I spoke over the phone a couple of times, I think once or so. Yes, he also thought it was such a bad idea, but he hadn't come out publicly to state it. Are you happy that now you aren't, and I'm using the word alone here advisedly, you're not alone. You have the Garage Association, you have Consumer Protection Agency, I'm even told COPEC, which is the Consumer Protection, was it COPEC? It's Consumer something, the COPEC, Duncan Amon's people, they've actually joined. And then we have the Okada riders and GPR2 and so on. This certainly is a shot in the arm as far as this advocacy is concerned, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Emuro, and if you remember the discussion we had, I think we indicated from the onset that when it comes to issues of emission and levies, in principle, ISEC is not against it because it is taking shape all over the world. If you look at the European sector, European part of the global sphere, there seem to be issues of emissions levy coming up strongly in that regard. And so in Africa, we've had a similar, South Africa in particular, we've had a similar trend taking shape. And so it's expected that in no time, most of Africa would adopt similar strategies. And so in principle, we are not against putting a levy when it comes to our emissions. But the point we made from day one was the fact that looking at the act itself, it is not intended to address any issues related to pollution. If you have the act before you, Moro, you would agree with me that reading it, it appears that the government simply is engaged in a tactic of using the moral force behind issues of pollution to raise funds in a struggling economy. And I gave you the antecedents of the tax. I indicated that if you look at after 2020, it appears that the government has found itself in serious economic challenges. And so the first move the government made in terms of levies had to do with the mobile money tax. And we're made to understand that this was meant to solve most of the problems as far as the economy was concerned.
Right.
It didn't. Then subsequently, government moved into the domestic debt exchange program. Then, of course, with some measure of success, then it proceeded to that of the external debt restructuring. So it appears that the emissions levy simply is designed or being implemented now in pursuit of that government's agenda of raising funds to support the Ghanaian economy. And that is why we have indicated that a careful analysis of it reveals no indication of government's commitment to the effect that it is going to use it to alleviate our challenges when it comes to issues of pollution and emission in our environment. There is no indication of a fund being set up for the monies that are likely to be generated from that sector to be paid into. The indication we get is that the money is going to be paid into the consolidated fund. Obviously, if the money is going to be paid into the consolidated fund, tracking the funds is going to be very difficult even for civil society organizations concerned about issues of pollution and environmental protection. We have had cases in this country where even where funds are set up, they are diverted. Much more or less a situation where there is no even fund established for the monies to be paid into, but we are going to be paying it directly into the consolidated fund. And so these are the concerns we are raising. And for me, I can understand the frustration of government when it comes to the economic challenges, but I do not think that an attempt should be made by the government to use issues of pollution as moral justification, or if you like, as a ruse to pursue their economic policies. It is unhealthy, and it is going to leave an unforgivable dent when it comes to advocacy related to issues of environmental pollution, because even the people at a point will become quite uncomfortable when issues of environment is being mentioned. And finally, Moro, let me also make the point that when we talk about emissions levy, it is not just out of the blue. Proponents of it also advocate strongly that you have to look at the economic situation of the country before you implement it. So you cannot accept as a country or as a government that the country is going through challenges. And in the midst of these challenges, you come on board to implement what we call the emissions levy.
Okay.
At the end of the day, what you are seeking to do is to raise some level of antagonistic, if you like, opposition against issues of environmental governance. And for us, that is a concern that we think that the government should pay attention to. Because the whole idea of environmental protection and pollution is still taking shape. Some people are still skeptical when it comes to issues of pollution, especially in Africa. And so you do not heighten that skepticism by going on this tangent, introducing taxes that are clearly avoidable under the circumstance.
Interesting. Hamza, please hang in there. And if you're saying in principle you don't have a problem with the tax, and you're saying the approach is wrong, I would want to hear from you what approach you think would be most preferable. Let me come to Mr. Kofi Kapito. Mr. Kofi Kapito, what's your take on this? Where do you stand on this? Bad idea, good idea? Or in principle you don't have a problem, but you have a problem with the approach, etc.?
Look, let me tell you, and let me say good afternoon to our viewers and good afternoon to my co-panelists who are here. Look, let me tell you what, government needs taxes. Nobody's against government collecting taxes.
Okay.
But when government becomes lazy, okay, and doesn't think outside the box and goes after the low-hanging fruit, Moro, why this brouhaha about emission is to do with this depletion of the ozone layer and all these things, right? So guess what? Some rich countries like United States, Europe, okay, who have already industrialized, okay, and they see that they are the major polluters of the environment. Africa, what do you pollute? Nothing.
Right.
So they form an association and say, come and be part of it.
Okay.
But rather, we would make sure that probably you cannot even develop as fast as we have. So now sign on to this Kyoto Agreement so that we would restrict you from trying to industrialize. Because industrialization always brings emission problems.
Yeah.
Henceforth, China, second to United States, refused to sign the protocol agreement.
Right.
Russia, like I said, United Kingdom, Germany. If we need to control emission, which I think it would be good for all of us, this is not the way to go about it. Look, the polluter should pay.
Yeah.
If your car, in other jurisdictions, Moro, do you know what happens?
Yeah.
Your car, you go through, as we do here now, it's called inspection of your vehicle.
Yes.
They will put actually a machine through your exhaust pipe to see how much pollution is coming out of your vehicle.
So let those who are emitting the pollution pay.
Let them pay. Because you know what? It is fair. I'm not polluting. Why are you asking me to pay?
Okay.
Okay,
That
in
makes
other
sense.
jurisdictions,
That makes sense.
that's how it's done.
Okay.
But what I'm even worried about is the amount of money that they are looking for.
Okay.
Moro, why do you charge a motorcycle before this tax? When it goes to do registration, do you know how much he was paying? 71 cedis.
Yeah.
Now you're asking him to pay another 75 cedis.
Okay.
Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Mathematically, it doesn't add up.
Right.
Tell the motorcycle who is paying 71 cedis
Okay.
to pay, say, 510 cedis.
Okay.
It's reasonable. Everybody, we all need to contribute. We all need to help government to raise money.
Right.
But government to sit somewhere, and government, and I keep saying this, government should stop wasting our tax money.
Right.
Look, excuse me, without due respect, I don't mean to make the president feel bad. What in the hell does he need a Land Cruiser carrying a chair around?
Right.
Okay, what about his appointees flying business and first class tickets? Appointees not paying you rent. Appointees getting per diems.
Okay.
Which is even much higher than the people that we are going to borrow money from.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It's only the third world countries who seems to be ripping the people off in their own interest. Then they come back and tell the people that we want you to pay more.
Right.
It doesn't make it. Look, emission, like I said, the polluter should pay. That is how it's done everywhere. As we speak, at Heathrow Airport,
Yeah.
in UK, it's all to do with this emission things. If you are bringing a passenger to drop off at Heathrow Airport, you actually pay £5. Look at the salary of the people in the United Kingdom. £5 is just a change. But to ask an Okada rider to pay 75 cedis on top of 71 cedis, I mean,
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
I see. So cut back on expenditure if the issue is about just raising revenue.
Yes.
So then do you agree with Hamza when he says the whole talk about we using this revenue to basically clean up the system is a ruse and the government just needs money?
No, listen, I don't mind. Government needs money. There are other ways. What about
But
going?
but that's not what government is telling us.
No, but that's why I'm saying government is not being truthful to us. Look, most of us are in the known that all this thing stems from this IMF bailout.
Yes.
Okay, conditions have been given to us. Nobody asked us to go to
fiscal
IMF.
consolidation.
We voluntarily took ourselves to the IMF. Okay, and the question I'm asking is, when they were going, did they even consider the plight of the Ghanaian? Look, we are lucky that, and thanks to the government, and thanks to the president, I was aware that this VAT on electricity, from day one, he was against it. So I'm happy that he's managed to say, let's not do it. But you know, this one, I was listening to some of their commentators, and I was laughing, trying to say which is true, because Nana B, the national organizer,
Yes. He's actually cautioned the
was
party
bold enough to say that
Yes.
the party does not agree with
with the tax.
the government
Yeah, with the government, yeah, on this
when
matter.
it comes to the tax.
Yes.
So now they are looking as if, because it's an election year, so what are they going to wait for us to go for election and bring the tax back? The tax, we have to look at it. You see, this thing that we don't call everybody to the table.
Stakeholder consultation.
Maybe government can justify, collecting this emission thing, but not to the person. Look, I'll open this for you.
Okay.
And then you'll be amazed to see why did they even not think about how to increase it.
Okay.
This is the only country that, when government is increasing anything,
Yes.
they don't do it single digit. It's always a double digit. It doesn't make any sense.
Whilst you're looking for it, let me speak to Mr. Pagri Boache Dankwa, who is a government spokesperson on governance and security. But here is just a case of governance. Palgrave, I mean, there's lots of questions that have been asked. First was, what was the thinking that went into, first of all, coming up with this, tax policy? And then secondly, what was the level of consultations that you had with other stakeholders, transport, pressure groups and so on? And then thirdly, from where you sit, is there any conversation taking place as to whether or not this emissions tax is going to be relooked at, or it is cast in stone, it is fait accompli? There's nothing that's going to be done. Whether we like it or not, it will come to pass. So 3 questions in one. Before he comes in. Okay, just a quick one. Okay, please hold on. Hold on a second. Just a second. I beg you. Just a second. Yeah, please go ahead.
Before this introduction of these things, right?
Yes.
A motorcycle up to 200 cc.
Yes.
Your roadworthy was 58 cedis.
Yes.
A motorcycle above 200, which is a tricycle,
Yes.
was 71 cedis.
Yes.
Okay. Motor vehicle up to 2,000, which is private,
Yes.
you were paying 140 cedis.
Yes.
So why are they telling you that you should pay double what you are paying,
amount.
even for your registration? This is why I have a problem.
I get it.
Maybe some little percentage, maybe say pay another 10, 20 cedis.
Right.
Yeah, because we need money. And I don't understand why we don't even know that if you make the payment less, it will encourage people to pay more than to make it so big that it will deter people from paying.
I agree. It disincentivizes people from paying. So let me come to you, Mr. Pagri Boache Dankwa. So I'll ask you 3 questions in one. First of all, what was really government's thinking in coming up with this emissions tax? I mean, and why are you asking everybody to pay this emissions tax? So maybe I drive a brand new 2022 Porsche Cayenne. It doesn't emit anything. It's a brand new car, nothing like that. You're asking me to pay. Somebody is driving a 1960 when James Bond was James Bond. a 1960 made car, the engine is dead, emitting all kinds of things. And, he's paying and I'm also paying. There's some inequity as far as this policy is concerned. So you tell us, what was the thinking? Why did government in the first place decide that it was to come up with this emissions levy?
Maura, a very good afternoon to you, and a very good afternoon to your listeners and viewers and to your panel. It is right to state that we are in an age where every single country is trying their best to ensure that emissions are reduced. You will recall very well in 2019 when the entire globe were besieged with the pandemic called COVID-19. I recall that it was stated that pollution had reduced significantly in China, where it emanated from.
Okay.
We've got into an age where we are going very green. And in going very green, we have signed up to the various COPs. So government engaged in COP, I think COP 27 Scotland, and then we did COP 28 sometime last year in the United Arab Emirates. Ghana is looking to see how we can continually contribute a significant quota. And I can agree that, yes, the global world in terms of emissions that we emanate globally is very, very minimal, but it's always very important to have a starting point. Sometime last year, the government put together a policy to review vehicles that are over 10 years. Which is to ensure that the number of vehicles that come into the country are lesser than 10 years. And it's all part of some of government policy directives. I will state that the position of government is continually to ensure that we have cleaner air, we are going green. And if you look at one of government's policies, which is the assembling of vehicles, the assembling of vehicles has come in to aid with the processes whereby people can be able to purchase vehicles at a high cost and at an affordable price. So we agree and appreciate that it's not a whole scale where we need to put a value chain, everyone to be able to pay emissions, but it's a percentage of whatever emission that you produce. So you can have an electronic vehicle, but in addition to having an electronic vehicle, that might not only be the only vehicle that you have. You might have other vehicles.
Well, unfortunately, Zoom is playing tricks on us, and so we'll try and get him back. Well, sometimes some of these things happen, unfortunately, but we'll try and get him back. Yes. You have a few questions for him. Okay.
Look, where they are doing this e-cars, okay, they are doing it, even they give you an incentive
True.
for you to buy an e-vehicle.
That's true.
Because you are not going to pollute as much. You see, they make people want to do it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
they'll give you all kinds of things. You are telling me a 10-year-old car. Yes, I agree. A 10-year-old car, in terms of wear and tear, if it's not properly maintained,
Yes.
okay, it will be a
Yes.
problem. I've
That's
seen
true.
people drive classic cars in Ghana.
Yes.
And they are not omitting anything.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's not the age, but it's how the car is
It's
omitting.
maintained.
That's how the car is actually polluting. That is how it's done everywhere. Everybody, I don't know which country that he probably had opportunity to go and live.
Yes.
But if it's in the UK,
Yes.
it's called MOT.
Okay.
You go and do your MOT,
Yes.
they will make sure that you are not polluting.
Okay.
Look, maybe until recently that the new police chief, the IGP, which has introduced some nice cars,
Okay.
almost 1 out of every 3 police cars
Yes.
was polluting.
Yes. Yes. It was rickety, actually.
I mean, I don't get it.
So the police is actually going to be they're going to be paying more than everybody. Let me come back to Palgrave. Palgrave, welcome back. Welcome back. We had a bit of a challenge with the connection, but thankfully we have you back. So please go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes, please do.
And so I was thinking the overarching goal of government's plan and government's policy to see to it that every single person in country pays an emission levy. And the goal, like I stated, to see to it that government is going very green. We have signed up to COP27, which happened in Scotland, signed up to COP28, which happened in the United Arab Emirates. We are greening Ghana continually, and our neighboring countries like Nigeria has high level of emissions on a regular basis. We can appreciate that Ghana as a country hasn't got that high level of emissions, but we cannot rule away the entire impact of the peninsula within within the sub-region of West Africa. Because if you look in recent times, the very harmattan that we experience, you realize that the air is very different. The air is different from it's been in years past. And so you look at South Africa, you look at Egypt, you look at Algeria, which is up us, and you look at Nigeria, which is just a neighbor to us, who have a high level of emissions that they emanate. And so the taxes that we are desiring to pay is to see to it that we reduce the emissions that we have in country, and then also to serve as a disservice to other people who continually have vehicles that are above the age. But I can state that government is continually reviewing these policies and taxes that is coming along, and we would continually also engage and listen to the Ghanaian people and what the Ghanaian people need.
Okay, I get it. What was the level of, and just briefly, what was the level of, what do you know about the level of stakeholder engagement or consultations that took place before the introduction of this levy? Never mind what they're thinking, whether it's noble or not, that we can debate, but what was the level of engagement and stuff? Because we check the kinds of reactions that have agreed to this, and what does that tell you?
No, well, Moro, you see, government never works in isolation of the citizen. The government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo always works in sync of the citizen. And we've been on a journey. You recall when we desired to plant many more seedlings and have many more trees. You recall when the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapor, went on a very high level planting expedition. And we've done that considerably over the years, and how we have also signed up to the COP27 memorandum and also signed up to the COP28 memorandum. So we've always been on that journey. We've carried the country along these various journeys. And it is important that as we are making decisions constructively for where the future should go in terms of having electronic vehicles. I'm aware of people that have electronic vehicles in country. In terms of having electronic vehicles, this emission tax will be a thing of the past once we're able to eradicate a lot more vehicles that cause pollution in the atmosphere.
All right. Kofi Kapito wants to ask you a question. Please go ahead.
Pargrieve, I've always admired your name because you're the first person that I know called Pargrieve.
Yes.
Pargrieve, you're talking about government doing its bit, and I agree with you. We all want government to do what is good for the people of Ghana. But Pargrieve, let me ask you this question. If you go to United Kingdom, London to be precise, they have the Hyde Park corner, which is a whole park in the middle of the city because of this green stuff that we are talking about. If you go to Manhattan, there's a forest in Manhattan. A forest, and I'm not talking about a park. It's a forest. Here in Accra, even the little reservation that we have, which is the Achimota Forest, is under siege.
Yeah.
So when government is telling me his interest is to make sure that we are doing green, I like the fact that my little brother, Abu Jinapor, and my nephew, who is the deputy, Benito Subio, they are encouraging Ghanaians to grow trees. But the center, like Accra, where the only reservation, look, F1 Sunderland Park, we could have built some greens there, whereby workers will go and sit and have lunch.
True.
The question is, yes, I agree, government needs revenue, but the people who are polluting should be the people who should be held to pay.
Pargrieve, do you agree with the suggestion that yes, it's all well and good to ask Ghanaians to pay emissions tax, but let the people who are polluting the system pay and not those who are not? Just briefly, what's your response to this?
So Moro, I agree to disagree. So I look at it in 2 ways, okay? So we would very soon, I'm very certain that it would be on the agenda of government to start levying people who are causing pollution, because the EPA has a right and responsibility to levy people who cause pollution. So people who burn rubbishes and garbages around, very soon you would see that those people are being levied, so that they are being responsible citizens. I like the example that Mr. Capito gives in terms of London and also gives in terms of Manhattan. These are two significant places that I'm very familiar with. But it's important that if you fly a drone in Accra now, you will see a high level of forest reserves. I mean, I think that the Achimota Forest is a very good example. When you fly a drone around Accra, you would see that we still have some reserves that has not been touched. But obviously, there's a lot more that we can do. And key to also state that going forward, I'm very certain that a high level of conversations are going to be held so that we all become alert and responsible in making sure that we have cleaner air to breathe in. We are going very green, and we are matching up to the global giants and the Asian giants, because Ghana is gradually growing and developing. Yes, we didn't have anything called emission taxes, probably because maybe people didn't think outside the box enough to be able to consider that we need to leave the planet in a very safe environment as much as we met it. And so I think that we must commend government for looking into these areas and these avenues, because that's where the world is going into. To be able to sit on the table and meet up to the needs of the global giants, you need to also be able to ensure that you are being responsible within your own sphere.
We still have a number of questions for you, fortunately or unfortunately, so hang in there. The Garage Association people are also here. It's not just garage. I think your association goes beyond just garage, or you're just garage owners association.
No, we go beyond that.
Okay,
we go beyond that.
That's fine. So I'll come back to you. Pargriff, please hang in there. Let me just quickly do this very, very important announcement, because we're in that month. It's the month of love. We're talking February. So love is in the air, and Valentine is with us. So share your love story. Yeah, share your love story in just a minute. Share your love story in just a minute, in a minute video, and I can tell you that you would win big this Valentine's Day. Now, the prizes are a weekend getaway. There's a romantic dinner night. There's tickets to Uncle Ebu White's play by the Rovermans Productions Group. There's a special souvenir from Appointed Time Printing. So all you need to do is simple. Just submit your entries to this WhatsApp number. Take the number. Take the number. I'll give you about 5 seconds. Take your pen. Yeah, I can see you're taking the pen. Paper. Where's the paper? Yeah, pick it up. Let me give you this number. Wonderful. 054 839 054 839 0970. 054 839 0970. Take a minute video. Tell us your love story. Yeah? Tell us your love story. 1 minute. Send it to that WhatsApp line. You never know. Yeah? But afterward, please go and pray, because there's lots of people who will be sending in entries. So go and pray and hope that you win. And I'm very positive that you win. So that's it. So make a love story the highlight of Valentine's Day. That's it. Make your love story the highlight of Valentine's Day. We'll take a short break. When we come back, there's a man who's been watching us. He's called Mr. Kwabena Sapon. He's a very, 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 I call him, he's a big man, as we say. He's got some very interesting views to share on this. He just needs about just a few minutes. We'll ring him, we'll speak to him, and then I'll come back to my resource person. The garage man hasn't spoken yet, so we'll come back to him, Mr. Kofito Hamza, and then we'll end it. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is Good Afternoon Ghana. Good Afternoon Ghana today is looking at a very important subject matter. It has to do with the emissions levy the government intends to introduce and implement. There have been all kinds of pushback. Consumer Protection Agency, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Association, Okada Riders, Garage Owners Association, and so on. There's a tall list of groups, identifiable groups that are seriously against this. And they've actually sent a stern warning to government that if it goes ahead to implement this, within a week, they will hit the street. And so government has been trying to explain the rationale behind it. That's Pargriff Wachidankwa. He's been with us via Zoom to explain the rationale behind it. But as I did indicate, there's a man who's been speaking to us just briefly. He's Kwabena Sapon. Mr. Kwabena Sapon is a prominent member of the New Patriotic Party. He's been watching, he's been listening. He hardly calls into shows, but for the first time, he says he would like to comment on this. So we'll just give him a few minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes. He's got something he wants to say straight away, and then we can end it. Mr. Kwabena Sapon, thank you very much for accepting to talk to us on Good Afternoon Ghana. So where's your stand on this? What's your stand on this matter?
Laurel.
Yes, sir. Hello, Mr. Sapon.
Yeah, Moro, yes.
Yes, I can hear you,
Yeah,
sir.
Moro. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to talk for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. I'm going to
Thank you.
speak very short.
Okay.
We've done a lot of good things. We have a lot of things that we've done to tell Ghanaians why they should vote and retain us in power. It hurts that a government that introduces nuisance tax in its last year of administration is reintroducing nuisance taxes again.
Okay.
The ECG that is a nuisance tax. This tax is another nuisance tax. Look at it. What is this tax going to do? Go to the budget and find out how much this tax is going to give us. What effect will this tax have on the government? What effect? Look at the value, the value of the budget. Billions of cedis. Will this tax give us even 500 million cedis? Will it give us 200 million cedis? So if it is not a nuisance tax, what is it? If you are introducing a tax that will not make a dent in your administration, then you cannot even use it to achieve what you want. What do you want to use this tax for? Same control. Where are the electric vehicles that we are importing into Ghana? That we want to put it in such a way that instead of going to buy a diesel car or internal combustion engine car, there's an advantage for you to go and buy electric vehicles. No, please. This tax is completely wrong. It's nuisance, and it is going to hurt us on our road to retaining power. My position, I'm a communicator. I don't make policies. But my position is to appeal to my government, which I support 100%. I think we've done a lot of good work to retain power, to cancel this tax, because it is going to give the negative publicity you will get far outweigh the positive benefits that you will get from this tax. And nobody should make a mistake and say that this is a result of IMF program. That is not true.
Okay.
It's not. Can I prove to you? Yes, I can.
Okay.
NDC, when we went to IMF, used the same IMF mantra and introduces a lot of taxes that we termed nuisance taxes.
Okay.
Is that not correct?
Right.
When we came to power, we did away with all those nuisance taxes. So if you think IMF and NDC to put in those taxes, why would the same IMF sit down for us to take those taxes when we were still under IMF? So that argument that is from IMF is a non-starter.
All right.
Don't let us talk about it. It's nuisance.
Okay.
We can do away with it and still be okay.
Okay.
One other tax we have introduced that I'm yet to check is even VAT on transport. Is it true?
VAT on transport, I'm not aware
Yes.
of that.
Well, okay, then I'll
agitated.
mention it.
Okay,
Because
all right,
the
so-
amendment on VAT,
Yes.
people were talking about transport. I haven't
Okay.
heard it myself.
All
I
right.
haven't seen it. So
Let's
I won't
cross-check
talk
that
about it.
before we proceed with any conversation on that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Mr. Kwabena Sapong is a prominent member of the New Patriotic Party. From time to time, he communicates with the party. And he's actually, spoken his mind, He's given us his thoughts on this matter. Let me go to Hamza now. Hamza, you've been listening to Pargrib Wasidankwa. When you listen to the justifications that he's been given as to why this tax is important, what do you have to say? What's your reaction or response to him?
Moro, you see, from the onset, this was the kind of discussion I wanted us to put in perspective. I indicated that when it comes to issues of pollution, the moral force driving it is too huge. So any government that wishes to ride on that moral force will get all the needed support. And so listening to Palgrave, it is clear that what he did was simply to ride on that moral force of protecting the environment, protecting the health of the people in terms of issues of pollution and its health implications, and proceeded to justify the tax. And that was what I cautioned against. And I indicated from the onset that, look, when it comes to issues of pollution, nobody is against levying emissions in principle. But there are certain guidelines or principles that must guide any adoption of a levy by any country. And if you look at the UK that reference was made to, even where they have put a levy on emissions tax, it is not the entire UK. It has to do with certain towns within the UK, and here specifically just central London. And so if you drive into those emission zones, you are asked to pay for those emissions. So it is not the entirety of London that we have emissions tax. Also, I indicated from the word go that we should also try as much as possible to ensure that issues of emissions when we are living, we take cognizance of the fact that they have economic implications. And so even proponents of it are quite cautious when it comes to adopting such levies. You have to look at the economic situation of your country. And I am pretty much convinced that Palgrave will agree with me that as we speak now, Ghana's economy is not looking good. The people are suffering. They are not excited about what is happening. On a daily basis, what they get to hear is about new taxes and increments in existing ones. And so these things are problematic. And so for you to bring on board issues of emissions levy, what you are simply doing is to raise the populace against issues of population. So even in the future, when it is important for us to adopt such measures, we may not get the necessary support from the people. And moreover, when I indicated that government was not being sincere when it comes to the emissions levy and what is intended for, I meant what I said. If you look at the same document the government authored, I'm talking here about the Ghana Energy Transition Plan, they indicated that they need about 540 billion by 2060 to finance Ghana's transition efforts. There is no indication of the act. And if you look at the Emissions Levy Act, the projection is that they are looking at getting 450 million Ghana cedis annually. Yet there is no indication in that act as to how to connect these resources to that of the energy transition agenda. That requires over 550 billion to finance. And so that is why we are saying that the intention would appear noble if you do not try to understand the rationale behind government's agenda. And for those of us in the climate space and environmental governance, we are quite clear that this has nothing, absolutely nothing, to do with environmental protection or issues of pollution. Okay. And that is why we are saying that there is the need for government to stand down on that tax. Okay. Let us engage further and determine when to bring it on board. And these are some of the concerns that Ghanaians have. Fantastic. But if you are making references to issues of environment, greening, obviously beautiful sound bites to hear as far as environmental issues are concerned. Okay. But that is the risk. We should not use environmental concerns as a ruse to pursue unhealthy motives when it comes to the economy.
Sure. Francis, so you are threatening that in a week's time, the government doesn't withdraw it.
We'll go on demonstration.
You would go on demonstration.
Sure.
You mean it?
We mean it. My brother, we mean it.
How many are you? Why should we be bothered if you go on demonstration? Maybe you are some 20 or 30.
In fact, initially I was trying to introduce ourselves very well. We are automobile field workers. We're talking about mechanics, electricians, welders, sprayers, machinists, organizers.
So that's a lot.
And currently, as we speak, I can say master craftspersons, including apprentices, we are almost 3 million across board. We're talking about the whole country.
Oh, that's
that is a sizable number.
That's a sizable number, yeah.
When my brother was speaking, I was a bit confused as to what is the objective of this tax. Is it raising money to support the economy or resolving the issue of emission?
Well, it's resolving the problems of emission.
If it is resolving,
so
then
we want to green Ghana.
My big brother here has come to reaffirm our position that the polluter must pay.
Okay.
And he talked about old age vehicle. It is not about the age of the vehicle. I know people who use vehicles that are over 20 years, but I tell you, if you follow him from here to my hometown, if you are not careful,
Kofi Kapito has a car which is almost 50 years.
Yes,
when you look at the car, it looks like it was just bought yesterday.
It's all about maintenance and servicing.
You haven't used that car in a while, though, Kofi Kapito.
Yes.
I'm talking about the Mercedes.
It's there.
Yes. Then one other funny thing that sometimes it surprises me is the stakeholder consultation. Yeah. You see, my brother, government is doing a lot of mistake. You see, when you want to introduce something, get the people involved. Sometimes they talk about they've consulted. You ask, who have they consulted? As we sit here, We have issues of government importing vehicles that has landed into court and other places.
Yeah.
And I say, yes, it must happen. Simply because, as I sit here, I am an auto mechanic by profession. So if you are going to procure a vehicle or buy a vehicle, and you need somebody to go and then satisfy that vehicle that it is good for the use in our country here, you need no other person than an auto mechanic or an engineer who know much about this vehicle. At the end of the day, they go and select one or two party boys and then they take them.
It's the minister and the chief director who goes.
So at the end of the day, the vehicles are brought in and they are fit for, they are not fit for purpose. So at the end of the day, it becomes rather a problem or not. What we are saying is, my brother, we are not against tax like everybody is saying, but this very tax is a nuisance one. It's not going to help us. I want to chip in this thing before I land. The issue has to do with, if you want to raise more money, why don't we find means of also doing away with vehicles that we think they are not fit for purpose? And I know of other countries where they said the government has a deliberate policy where you send those vehicles, they crash them, recycle them for a different product, and then it's being used. Then government in turn give you a soft loan. The vehicles are imported, they are given to you, you pay on installment basis. So by so doing, we are doing away with those old vehicles that are not fit for purpose from the system, so that together we can help solve this emission problem. It shouldn't be just money, but rather solving the problem, because climate issues today is a very serious one that nobody should joke with it. So garages, what we are saying is, if government decide to go ahead with this, we are joining hands with our brothers, and a very big demonstration will happen very soon. That people will see that we are not joking, we mean it.
All right.
Thank you.
So, Kofito, I guess that we're going to end here.
I wish Pargrave was still on. I was going to ask him, government should rather give incentives for people to buy electronic vehicles. Look, we just signed an agreement with Volkswagen to assemble vehicles here in Ghana. It would have been prudent for government to ask Volkswagen to do e-vehicles. Rather, they are doing petrol engines. I get that. And let me tell you what.
But we're not ready for
No. The rest of the world.
Yes.
Do you know how long it's going to take the world to get rid of car-driven engines?
It'll take a long time.
Yeah, Detroit is still producing
petrol.
car engines. Germany, another manufacturer.
Yes.
China,
Yes.
all the Russia. So we should not tackle ourselves. Maybe it will happen not you, when you and I are no longer on this planet.
Okay, all right. Pargrave, in 30 seconds, I beg you. Oh, you're off. Okay, unfortunately. All right, so that's it. So let me just thank Hamza Suhini for joining us this afternoon. Hamza Suhini runs an NGO which is into, in fact, he's the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute of Climate and Environmental Governance. Thank you very much, Hamza Suhini. I also wanted to say a big thanks to Mr. Kofi Kapito. He's the Executive Director for the Consumer Protection Agency, and also Francis Numo Tete. He is with the Garage Owners Association, which includes all kinds of people, automobiles, and so on and so forth. My name is Audu Moro. Let me also say a big thanks to Pargrave Washidankwa, the government spokesperson on governance and security. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.